He is called a genius and a destroyer, a visionary and a madman. Kanye West is one of the most controversial figures in modern culture, whose journey from music producer to billionaire is marked by both stunning highs and shocking scandals. What lies behind the mask of the eccentric genius? Where is the line between creative provocation and mental disorder? How did a talented musician turn into a man who publicly expresses admiration for Hitler and is accused of sexual violence? This investigation reveals the dark side of West's empire, from toxic relationships and domestic violence to anti-Semitic statements and support for authoritarian regimes. Drawing on court documents, testimonies from former employees and close associates, we will trace how untreated bipolar disorder combined with unchecked power and influence has created one of the most dangerous figures in modern show business. This is a story about how genius borders on madness, how childhood traumas grow into violence, and how society finds itself powerless in the face of the toxic influence of a man who has millions of devoted followers. Who is he really, Kanye West? Creative genius or dangerous manipulator? Victim of mental illness or calculating provocateur? Kanye Omari West was born on June 8, 1977 in Atlanta, Georgia, to Donda and Ray West. His mother was an English professor at Clark Atlanta University, and his father was a former Black Panther who later became the first African-American photojournalist at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. When Kanye was 3 years old, his parents divorced. This became the first serious trauma in the life of the future musician. After the divorce, Donda moved with Lil Kanye to Chicago, where she got a position as the chair of the English department at Chicago State University. This move defined Kanye's further life path, immersing him in the cultural environment that shaped his creative personality. Kanye's relationship with his mother was special and extremely close. Donda West didn't just raise her son. She became his first manager, critic, and most devoted supporter. She noticed her son's creative abilities early on and nurtured them in every way. Kanye often accompanied his mother to her university classes, which formed his early interest in education and literature. In third grade, Donda discovered her son's talent for poetry and began encouraging him to write poems. She paid him $1 for each poem he wrote, thus instilling not only a love for creativity, but also an understanding of its commercial value. This early experience later played an important role in shaping his approach to the music business. As a child, Kanye showed extraordinary abilities in various fields. At 7, he started drawing and selling his drawings. By third grade, he was already writing his own songs, and in 7th grade, he started rapping. His mother recalled that he always was very purposeful and confident in his talent. An important period was his stay in China as part of an educational exchange program when he was 10 years old. Donda, who was teaching there under the Fulbright program, took her son with her. This experience significantly broadened young Kanye's worldview and influenced his further perception of cultural differences. West's teenage years were spent in the south side of Chicago, where he attended Polaris High School. Here, he met producer Noid, who became his first mentor in music. It was during this period that Kanye began seriously engaging in music production, creating his first group, State of Mind. Contrary to stereotypes about rappers, Kanye was a good student and received high grades. His mother insisted on the importance of education, and after graduating from high school, he even received a creative scholarship to the American Academy of Art. However, after just one semester, Kanye dropped out, deciding to fully devote himself to music, which became the cause of his first serious conflict with his mother. In 1997, he met producer Doug Infinite, who taught him to sample old soul records, which later became West's signature sound. Together, they founded Kanye's first production company. During this period, he began selling beats to local artists, gradually building his reputation in the Chicago music industry. The turning point came when his beats were heard by D-Dot, one of the producers at Bad Boy Entertainment. This led to West's move to New York in 2000, where he began working at Rockefeller Records. Initially, he was known exclusively as a producer, creating hits for Jay-Z and other artists on the label. But West's ambitions were much greater than just producing. He dreamed of a career as a rapper, but faced constant rejections from labels that saw him only as a producer. The situation changed after a serious car accident in October 2002, when he recorded the song Through the Wire with his jaw wired shut. This song became his breakthrough as a performer. A special role in the formation of West's personality was played by his complex relationship with his father. Although after the divorce, Ray didn't take an active part in raising his son, he remained an important figure in his life. As an adult, Kanye often mentioned that he inherited his entrepreneurial spirit and independent thinking from his father. West's early years were marked by a constant desire to prove his exceptionality. Even as a child, he showed signs of narcissism and grandiose thinking, which later became defining features of his public image. His mother recalled that he always considered himself special and wasn't afraid to state it. An important aspect of his formation was growing up in an academic environment due to his mother's profession. This gave him access to a wide range of knowledge and cultural influences, which were later reflected in his music. At the same time, the constant pressure to meet his mother's high expectations could have been one of the factors that influenced the development of his psychological issues. 2016 was a turning point in the public recognition of Kanye West's mental health issues. After a series of unpredictable performances and the sudden cancellation of his St. Pablo tour, he was hospitalized in the psychiatric unit of UCLA Medical Center with a diagnosis of temporary psychosis triggered by exhaustion. However, this was only a public manifestation of a much deeper problem, bipolar disorder, which the musician had been hiding for years. In 2018, on the cover of his album Ye, West wrote, "I hate being bipolar, it's awesome," openly acknowledging his diagnosis for the first time. In the lyrics of the album, he described in detail his experience of living with this disorder, including manias, depressions, and paranoid episodes. West's bipolar disorder is characterized by extreme mood swings. During manic episodes, he demonstrates excessive activity, grandiose ideas, and impulsive behavior. This manifests in hours-long tirades at concerts, chaotic posts on social media, and radical business decisions. During such periods, he can go days without sleep, work on several projects simultaneously, and make provocative public statements. Depressive episodes, on the contrary, are characterized by deep despair and isolation. During such periods, West often disappears from the public eye, cancels performances, and withdraws from his family. In 2020, during his presidential campaign, he publicly burst into tears while talking about how he had thought about aborting his first child, which was a manifestation of emotional instability. A particular difficulty in treatment is caused by West's refusal to regularly take prescribed medications. According to him, the drugs dull his creativity and prevent him from being himself. He has repeatedly stated that his bipolar disorder is not a disease, but a superpower that allows him to be creative. The death of his mother in 2007 was a traumatic event that significantly worsened his mental state. Donda West died from complications after cosmetic surgery, which Kanye himself paid for. This created a deep sense of guilt in him that he still hasn't overcome. In many of his songs, he returns to the theme of losing his mother and his sense of responsibility for her death. Paranoid episodes are often accompanied by conspiracy theories. West has repeatedly stated that the industry is trying to kill him, accused his loved ones of trying to place him in a psychiatric hospital, and claimed that his medications are a way to control him. His ex-wife, Kim Kardashian, made a rare public statement about West's mental state in 2020, explaining the complexity of living with a person suffering from bipolar disorder. She described how the family often feels helpless because they can't force an adult to seek help or take medication. Professional psychiatrists analyzing West's public behavior note the classic symptoms of type I bipolar disorder: grandiose thinking, accelerated speech, impulsive decisions, and a lack of awareness of the consequences of his actions during manic episodes. His public appearances often demonstrate a flight of ideas, rapid jumping between unrelated topics, which is a characteristic sign of mania. Particularly dangerous are periods when manic episodes are accompanied by psychotic symptoms. At such moments, West can lose touch with reality, demonstrate paranoid thinking, and make increasingly extreme statements. His anti-Semitic remarks and support for radical political ideas often coincide with such episodes. The lack of stable treatment leads to episodes becoming more intense and frequent. Psychiatrists warn that without proper medical intervention, the condition can progressively worsen, leading to increasingly serious consequences for both West himself and his environment. His case has become an important example of how mental illness affects not only the patient but also his family, career, and society as a whole. The public nature of his struggle with bipolar disorder has drawn attention to mental health issues in the Black community, where this topic often remains taboo. It's important to understand that all subsequent scandals and controversial actions by West must be viewed through the prism of his mental state. His anti-Semitic statements, political remarks, public conflicts, and business decisions are often a direct manifestation of untreated bipolar disorder, not just eccentricity or a search for attention. Kanye became world famous in part due to his hyped-up conflict with Taylor Swift. The story of the conflict between Kanye West and Taylor Swift, which began at the MTV Video Music Awards in 2009, has become one of the most toxic confrontations in modern pop culture. What started as a one-time incident grew into a years-long campaign of bullying and manipulation. It all began when West snatched the microphone from the hands of 19-year-old Swift during her acceptance speech for Best Female Video. Interrupting her speech, he declared that Beyoncé's video, Single Ladies, was one of the best videos of all time. This stunt sparked instant outrage from the public, including then U.S. President Barack Obama, who called West a jackass. Although West initially apologized on his blog and then publicly on The Jay Leno Show, his subsequent actions demonstrated a lack of genuine remorse. In a 2013 interview with the New York Times, he stated that he didn't regret the 2009 incident, revealing his true stance. The situation escalated in 2015 when West displayed particularly manipulative behavior. According to Swift, he called her with a request to present him with the Vanguard Award at the 2015 VMAs, engaging in an hour-long conversation about the importance of this moment. However, at the ceremony itself, he publicly accused MTV of using Swift to boost ratings, demonstrating his two-facedness. The most toxic stage of the conflict began in 2016 with the release of West's song Famous, where he used demeaning lines about Swift. "I feel like me and Taylor might still have sex. Why? I made that bitch famous." The situation worsened with the release of the music video, which featured a naked wax figure of Swift without her consent. West's wife, Kim Kardashian, joined the bullying by publishing selective parts of a phone conversation between West and Swift, creating the impression that the singer had approved the lyrics. This led to a massive internet harassment campaign against Swift, who later spoke about this period in her documentary, Miss Americana. Swift responded with a post on social media, noting that West had never told her about his intention to call her that bitch and hadn't let her hear the full version of the song. "I would very much like to be excluded from this narrative, one that I have never asked to be a part of since 2009, she wrote. In 2017, Swift released the album Reputation, where she reflected on her experience of public bullying. The song Look What You Made Me Do became a direct response to West and Kardashian's manipulations. The album had huge commercial success, selling over 1 million copies in its first week in the US. In 2018, West stated that the conflict with Swift had negatively impacted his relationships with radio stations and his mental health. However, his own actions, including constant provocations and manipulations, showed the systematic nature of his toxic behavior. In the summer of 2020, Kanye West made one of the most unexpected statements of his career, announcing his intention to run for US president. This statement became a vivid illustration of how the thin line between genius and madness can become blurred in the world of high-stakes politics. The rapper, who had previously been an outspoken supporter of Donald Trump, suddenly changed his position, stating in a Forbes interview that he was disappointed in the current president. The reason was quite specific. West was outraged by the fact that Trump hid in a bunker during protests. This decision to announce his own presidential ambitions was accompanied by a series of increasingly eccentric statements. The most revealing was his concept for a new administration, which, according to him, was to be based on the model of the fictional country of Wakanda from the movie Black Panther. Such a statement raised serious doubts about the adequacy of his political ambitions. However, the support of influential tech entrepreneur Elon Musk lent additional weight to this campaign in the media space. His controversial statements on racial issues drew particular attention. West stated that to say the black vote is democratic is racist and a form of white supremacy. At the same time, he openly admitted his readiness to take African American votes away from Democratic candidate Joe Biden, effectively helping Trump. In his campaign statements, West demonstrated a bizarre combination of populism and conspiracy theories. He opposed the COVID-19 vaccine, calling it the mark of the beast, although he himself claimed to have had coronavirus. However, he provided no evidence of his illness, but insisted that this experience should help him become president. His political platform, called the Birthday Party, seemed more like a spontaneous improvisation than a serious political project. West showed a disdainful attitude towards traditional political figures, stating, "Obama's special. Trump's special. We say Kanye West is special. America needs special people. Bill Clinton? Special. Joe Biden's not special." Media and political experts quickly accused the rapper of using his presidential campaign as a publicity stunt to promote his new album. West responded to this accusation with his characteristic extravagance, promising to give the album away for free. Particularly alarming were his statements about family planning, where he claimed that he was placed in cities by white supremacists to do the devil's work. Such statements raised serious concerns about his mental state and ability to adequately assess reality. This wasn't the first time West had announced presidential ambitions. Back in 2015, at the MTV Video Music Awards ceremony, he announced his intention to run in the 2020 election. However, at the time, this was perceived more as an outrageous gesture than a serious political statement. Despite the obvious impossibility of registering to participate in the 2020 election due to missed deadlines, West continued to insist on his chances of winning. This stubbornness, combined with increasingly eccentric statements, created the impression of a deep personal crisis masked as a political campaign. On December 1st, 2022, Kanye West made one of the most scandalous appearances of his career, appearing on the InfoWars show of notorious conspiracy theorist Alex Jones. Dressed in his signature black balaclava, which completely hid his face, the rapper shocked the audience with overt anti-Semitic statements and endorsements of Nazi ideology. "I like Hitler," this phrase from West, said live on air, instantly circulated in world media. The rapper didn't limit himself to simple approval of the Nazi leader, but launched into a whole argument in his defense. He invented the highways, invented the very microphone that I use as a musician. You can't say that this person ever did anything good. A particularly alarming moment came when West moved on to outright Holocaust denial. With a certainty that shocked even the show's host, he stated, "Hitler had really nice clothes, he was a good architect, he was a Christian, and he didn't kill 6 million Jews." That's factually incorrect. These words sounded especially cynical against the backdrop of numerous historical documents and testimonies confirming the scale of Nazi crimes. However, anti-Semitic rhetoric wasn't the only scandalous aspect of the appearance. When political commentator Nick Fuentes, known for his radical views, expressed support for Putin's regime and Russian aggression against Ukraine, West quickly joined this position, stating, "I agree." The culmination of the scandal was a Twitter post where West shared an image combining the Jewish Star of David with a swastika, a symbol of the Nazi regime. This provocation led to the instant blocking of his account on the social network. The appearance on InfoWars wasn't just another scandal in the rapper's career, but a turning point that led to serious consequences. Numerous brands and partners, including Adidas, Gap, and other companies, terminated their contracts with West. The music industry also reacted harshly. Many platforms restricted the availability of his content. Of particular concern is the fact that West's statements came at a time of rising anti-Semitic sentiment worldwide. His words, given his multi-million audience and influence on youth, can contribute to the normalization of hate speech and extremist views. The combination of anti-Semitism with support for Putin's regime demonstrates the depth of West's radicalization. These are no longer just outrageous statements for attention, but a consistent position that threatens not only his own career but also public safety in general. Society's reaction to this appearance demonstrated that even superstar status cannot protect one from the consequences of promoting hatred. The loss of contracts and blocking on social media became a clear signal about the unacceptability of such rhetoric in the modern world. The story of Kim Kardashian and Kanye West's divorce revealed the dark side of one of the most high-profile marriages in show business. What began as a fairy tale love turned into a toxic relationship filled with public scandals, psychological abuse, and addictions. The first cracks in their relationship became noticeable after West's mental breakdown in 2016, when he was hospitalized due to nervous exhaustion. However, Kardashian continued to publicly support her husband, defending him from criticism and explaining his behavior with bipolar disorder. 2020 became a turning point for the couple. During his chaotic presidential campaign, West made several shocking statements, including revealing that he and Kim had considered aborting their first child. At a campaign rally in South Carolina, he broke down in tears while publicly telling this story, deeply offending Kardashian and her family. The situation worsened when West began posting a series of accusations against his wife and her family on Twitter. He claimed that Kardashian tried to lock him up in a psychiatric hospital, called his mother-in-law Kris Jong-un, alluding to the North Korean dictator, and stated that he had been trying to divorce Kim for 2 years. Particularly destructive to the marriage was West's obsession with pornography. According to insiders, he not only suffered from a serious addiction, but also tried to control Kim's appearance and behavior, projecting his fantasies onto her. This led to severe emotional abuse and humiliation. After moving to a ranch in Wyoming in 2020, West almost completely distanced himself from his family. Kardashian flew to him with the children, trying to save the family, but his behavior became increasingly unpredictable. He refused to take medication for his bipolar disorder, which led to regular manic episodes. On social media, West continued to publicly humiliate Kim even after she filed for divorce. He accused her of kidnapping their children, criticized her parenting methods, and tried to discredit her new relationship with Pete Davidson by publishing private messages and creating threatening videos. His behavior regarding the children was particularly concerning. West publicly criticized the decision to allow their eldest daughter North to use TikTok, accused Kim of over-sexualizing their children through the scheme's children's clothing line, and tried to ban the children from attending private school. Financial issues also became a source of conflict. Despite both being billionaires, West often publicly boasted about his wealth and belittled Kim's business achievements. He even tried to sabotage her collaborations with brands because of his anti-Semitic statements. The divorce process was accompanied by constant changes of lawyers on West's side. He changed 5 legal representatives, and his refusal to cooperate on property division and child custody issues. He missed depositions, refused to provide financial documents, and publicly threatened lawsuits. Kardashian, despite public humiliation, tried to shield the children from the toxicity of the situation. She consistently refused to publicly criticize West, calling him the father of my children and acknowledging his creative genius, even as he continued to attack her. The divorce was finalized in November 2022. Under the terms of the agreement, they received joint custody of the children, and West agreed to pay $200,000 per month in child support. However, even after the official divorce, he continued to cause problems by missing scheduled meetings with the children and publicly criticizing Kim's new relationships. The incident near Soho West Club in Los Angeles in January 2022 became another proof of Kanye West's uncontrollable aggressive behavior. In the early morning hours, around 3 a.m., a situation that began as a typical attempt by fans to photograph a celebrity escalated into an act of violence that attracted the attention of law enforcement. According to eyewitnesses and police investigation data, West repeatedly asked to stop photographing. When his requests were ignored, the rapper went from verbal demands to physical violence. Approaching the fan, he delivered 2 blows to the head and neck, causing the man to fall onto the asphalt. Particularly revealing was the moment captured on TMZ video, where West's inadequate reaction to his own cousin's attempts to calm the situation is seen. In the footage, the rapper aggressively yells at the woman, demanding that she get away from him, demonstrating a complete loss of self-control. The Los Angeles police classified this case as a criminal offense. Although the victim initially refused medical assistance, he later went to the hospital for examination. This fact added seriousness to the incident from a legal point of view. The event caused particular concern because it demonstrated West's inability to control his emotions even in the presence of loved ones and cameras. The fact that the rapper resorted to violence against a fan who simply wanted to photograph him indicates deep problems with anger management. The incident became part of a broader picture of West's problematic behavior. In previous years, the rapper had repeatedly demonstrated outbursts of aggression in public, disrupted concerts, and made scandalous statements. However, the Los Angeles case became the first documented instance of direct physical violence against a fan. The public reaction was mixed. Some fans tried to justify West's actions by the constant pressure of paparazzi and violation of his privacy. Others pointed to the unacceptability of physical violence regardless of the circumstances. Professional psychologists, commenting on the situation, noted signs of serious mental health problems. This case added a new chapter to the history of West's scandalous behavior, demonstrating how fame and constant attention can exacerbate destructive behavior patterns. It also raised serious questions about celebrities' responsibility for their actions and the boundaries between the right to privacy and public status. The event also became a reason for a broader discussion about celebrity culture and the toxic relationship between stars and their fans. Many experts noted that such incidents are a symptom of deeper problems in the modern entertainment industry, where the line between public and private life is often blurred. This case of on-camera violence became further evidence of how uncontrolled aggression can ruin not only a career, but also a person's life, regardless of their status and achievements. It also demonstrated the danger of ignoring signs of mental illness and the importance of timely professional help. October 2023 added another dark stroke to the portrait of one of the most famous rappers of our time. Lauren Piscata, Kanye West's former assistant, filed an expanded lawsuit in the Los Angeles County Superior Court, accusing the musician of sexual assault using prohibited substances. The collaboration between Piscata and West lasted from 2021 to 2022. During this period, according to court documents, the rapper systematically violated professional boundaries by sending the assistant pornographic materials, making inappropriate phone calls, and demonstrating aggressive behavior. One of the most disturbing incidents occurred at a San Francisco hotel in July 2021. At 6 a.m, West began aggressively knocking on the door of Piscata's room, demanding to be let in under the pretext of a malfunctioning shower in his own room. According to the plaintiff's testimony, upon entering the room, the rapper intentionally dropped his towel and tried to press his naked body against her, ignoring requests to stop. After the incident, West apologized and continued the day as if nothing had happened. However, the most serious accusation was an incident at a recording studio where Sean Combs, P. Diddy, was also present. According to Piscata, West offered her a drink with an unknown substance. After consuming the drink, the woman felt disoriented, and the next day woke up with memory gaps and physical discomfort, unable to recall the events of the previous night. Notably, these accusations came against the backdrop of an already existing wrongful termination lawsuit. Piscata claims that her employment was terminated after she began expressing concerns about West's inappropriate behavior. The situation is complicated by the fact that the studio incident took place in the presence of Sean Combs, who is currently under investigation for serious charges of rape, racketeering, and human trafficking. Although Piscata is not making accusations against Combs, his presence adds additional resonance to the case. West's legal team, which had previously categorically denied previous accusations, is currently refraining from commenting on the new charges. This silence is particularly telling, given the rapper and his representatives' usually active public stance. This case has become part of a broader discussion about abuse of power in the music industry. Particularly important is the context in which assistants often find themselves in a vulnerable position due to the inequality of power relations and fear of losing their job in a highly competitive industry. The scandal around West is developing against the backdrop of a general rethinking of the culture of behavior in show business, where cases of abuse and harassment are being exposed more and more often. Piscata's case demonstrates how even the most influential figures in the industry can face serious legal consequences for unacceptable behavior. Particular attention is drawn to the fact that the accusations against West are emerging at a time when the rapper has already lost numerous contracts and partnerships due to his anti-Semitic statements and other scandalous remarks. This creates a picture of systematic problematic behavior, not an isolated incident. November 2024 brought new shocking accusations against Kanye West. Jen In, a participant in the show America's Next Top Model, filed a lawsuit revealing details of a 2010 incident that demonstrates the dark side of the rapper's personality. According to court documents published by People magazine, the events unfolded during the filming of the music video and For the Kill. Jen In, who was invited as a background actress, found herself in a situation where her professional vulnerability was used against her. Dressed only in revealing lingerie for the shoot, she became the object of West's predatory behavior. The details of the lawsuit reveal a horrifying picture of events. According to the plaintiff's testimony, West ordered everyone to leave the set after the phrase, "Give me this girl." What happened next was captured on camera under the pretext of filming for the video, but actually turned into an act of violence. Jen In's testimony describes a brutal assault. West began to choke me with one hand, then clasped the other and continued to choke me with both hands. Particularly disturbing is the description of how the rapper pressed his fingers into her throat, making repetitive motions, covering her mouth. The victim reports a feeling of temporary loss of consciousness and inability to breathe. After the assault, according to In, her face was covered in saliva and smeared makeup. Physical evidence of the violent act that left not only physical, but also deep psychological trauma. Particular attention in the case is drawn to the role of Universal Music Group, which In also accuses of complicity through inaction. According to her, she reported the incident, but the company refused to conduct an internal investigation, effectively covering up West's actions. The story of Kanye West is a complex lesson about the fine line between genius and madness. From the boy who wrote poems for $1 to the billionaire whose words can influence world markets and public opinion, he has walked a path that demonstrates both the enormous potential of the human spirit and its tragic vulnerability. Yes, we cannot ignore the dark side of his story, the anti-Semitic statements, instances of violence, toxic relationships, and manipulations. But it's important to understand that many of these actions took place under the influence of a severe mental illness that remained untreated. Bipolar disorder, exacerbated by the trauma of losing his mother and the pressure of constant public attention, played a fatal role in his downfall. Yet even through the darkness of his demons, the light of true genius breaks through. West has changed not only hip-hop culture, but also the very understanding of what an African-American artist can achieve. He blurred the lines between music and fashion, between art and commerce, between madness and innovation. As Steve Jobs said, "The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do." West, with all his contradictions and problems, embodies this truth. His story reminds us that the greatest breakthroughs in culture are often created by people who see the world differently, even if this vision sometimes borders on insanity. But it is also a cautionary tale about the importance of mental health and the danger of leaving mental disorders untreated. It shows how society often prefers spectacle over compassion, and how easily we can glorify someone's downfall instead of extending a helping hand. Kanye West remains a living embodiment of the paradox of creative genius, simultaneously a destroyer and a creator, a victim and a perpetrator, a genius and a madman. His story is a mirror that reflects both our highest aspirations and the darkest sides of human nature.